I've not really had that moment. No. I've thought at times I get tired of being on the road. I think it's the hardest thing. But no, not really. What I would be doing, hopefully TV or film or something like that, or acting, singing. That's one thing that used to actually pull us apart for a while. Would be I would sing with my madrigal group. We sang in downtown Chicago for many Christmases in a row. And we get singing jobs, and I got good technology. I got good reviews, but so I wanted to be a singer as well. But I never really said no to Renaissance fairs. I never really got that tired. Mm-hmm. No, because I like to perform. God's sake, And as a performer, how many of us? I took those. I know those stats. It's 96% of the people who go into performance for a career fail. Never perform. 96%. So if you're working here, you're lucky. 4% of those people left. Out of those 4%, 50% of those people make less than $8,000 a year. Out of the top 2, out of that, it takes the next percent to make over 10, and then the top 2 are the people who are making big bucks. So almost nobody. So to me, oh, I missed my dad's call. That's okay. I'm going to shut this off.
I'm going to shut mine off too. Let's just do that in stereo.
Yeah, I don't know. Really. There.
All right.
So nothing else I wanted to do. Sing, write. I wanted to be a writer for a while. I did love working with computers. That was actually very early in my career. I had to go and quit this job that has a temp in Chicago, and it was at a bus parts company. And I knew nothing about computers. I was just yes-anding my way through it. Nice way of saying yes-anding. And they salaried me, and I worked there for 2 years, and they would let me take weeks off to be in plays, and they loved me in this place, and they, I got so much pressure, and to be a full-time worker, that I actually had to go. And I even warned them, if you offer me a full-time job, I will quit, and they offered it to me, and I quit. It hurt me because I loved the money, and that's the thing. Here's a bit of advice, especially being a young actor: do not get seduced by money. Don't get the nice apartment. Don't buy the nice car. Don't get the job. Money hooks you. Money's like a drug. So if you have a decent job that pays you, I don't know what's a decent wage, $30,000 a year, $20,000 a year, 40, 50, 60, 100,000. If you have a job like that, and you suddenly want to become an actor, and you're going to make $20 a night if you're lucky at places, you know what I mean, $150 a week, $200 a week. What's Lord D contracts, $35 a day, I think, something like that. You will not act because you will suddenly can't afford it. Do you know? Uta Hagen said, talent is the ability to work. And work is the key. Not only working on your craft and anything, but actually going out there and working. And instead of saying, well, I can't take off work because I need to pay my rent, well, then you're in an apartment that costs too much. I mean, actors go, I started out with a group of young performers who in many ways, I still swear to this day, are far more talented, better looking, the whole thing than I am. And they got jobs that suddenly they bought a car and they had to keep the payment up. They wanted their health insurance. Why do you want health insurance when you're 23 years old? Why?
Right.
Unless you're sick. So that's a piece of advice.
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, it is a hard question, though.
Yeah, that's the hardest one, typically. All right. Do you prefer interacting with the audience on stage, in the street? And what are the differences in your approach to either?
When I'm on stage, I'm doing a show. I'm doing the Don Juan and Miguel show. It is a character, and Miguel is much more flamboyant, precise. I have a script, kind of, that we follow. Actually, and the scripts we follow, like we write a script and then it evolves on stage, and then we look later and we go, oh, let's keep this. Oh, remember when we used to say this? So I will actually write a show, and the way I usually write a show is like the Queen of Spain show. Queen of Spain comes in, I have big water balloon things, and then suddenly those change to baloobies during the show. Then women gave me lines to say, so I listened, but it's a show. I'm presenting a big show to people. On the street, I'm Miguel, the manservant to Don Juan, who does the Don Juan and Miguel show. And I'm very personable on the street, but I don't use. I mean, when I hawk my show, I'm big. Because what's that line? Tickets are hard to sell if nobody knows you're there. From that, hey, look me over, lend me an ear. Great philosophy. Look me over. So on the street, if you see me in my little neighborhood here, I'm very loud. But when I sit down and eat with people, I chat. And then I talk about my life as Miguel, or their lives. So mostly what I do, though, is listen to what they have to say to me. I find out about people's divorces. I find out about their loves. I find out about the first time they try to perform. I find out about their Aunt Nancy. I find out about all these things in their lives. And I listen. Because one of the things about interactive, to me, theater here is like I get to touch human beings, real human beings. And I'm not doing it for me. I mean, I am, of course. And, I mean, that's the weird thing about it. I'm doing it because I like it. But I don't know if you know about our contracts. We're not really required to be on the street. Jeffrey likes us to be on the street, right? But it's not a definite requirement. In fact, there are years where, if Don Juan's on the street and Miguel's around him, it changes my relationship. I can't be as big and involved, as broad, because my master's around, right? So we don't even go on this. We used to go on the street all the time together, and all I did was break the crowd for him, and lead him, and then sing behind him while he wooed women, and waited on, which is fun to do. But I much prefer talking to kids and making jokes and making comments and about political ideas. And it's usually, I try to do and I get kind of real sometimes, but I try to do a difference between like what is happening then and what is happening now is almost the same. People never change. I think the basic nature of human beings is the same. And that's one of the things I like in the work meetings. I like people. I just like them. So I like playing with them. So Miguel on the street is, when I'm not hawking, is a nice, I chat with people, I compliment women. I go and I play with handicapped people. Because I love threatening that. I love seeing somebody in a wheelchair and going up and saying, if you don't see my show, I'm going to pop your tires. And they laugh, but the people around are shocked. In Sterling, there's this guy, Michael. He had muscular dystrophy. Skinny little guy, skinny, atrophying, in a chair, not an electric chair. And he had, it was out of some Tennessee Williams play. He had this guy pushing him, whose name was Buck, who was a GQ perfection-looking guy. Football, broad-shouldered, glasses, cheekbones, the whole thing. I don't know what their relationship was. Never inquired about it. But I remember walking by him one day and went, God, you are so lazy. Look how skinny you are. You pushed him around, I bet you get some muscles. And suddenly he smiles at me and we have a little conversation. I'm like, I'm really tired. You have your own chair. I don't even have a chair. It looks like it has a cushy seat. And he went, you want to sit in my chair? I'm like, yes, I do. He went, Buck, pick me up. Buck picked him up. I rode around his chair. I tilted it over. I had a little race with another little lady in a wheelchair. And I had a great time. And then Michael came back like 3 years in a row. He came back 1 weekend, 2 weekends. I always engaged with him, always. Was rude to him in a playful. My mom was handicapped. I grew up with that mom that pulled me. And I just played with him, and it actually changed our lives. His friend Buck came without him, and was wearing sunglasses. And he comes up to me and he starts to cry. You see tears coming down his cheeks, and he said that Michael had passed away like a month before the funeral. And I may have shared the story even at the workshop. But he wanted me to come and tell you, and he promised that he would tell you that he loved you because you treated him like a man. And that just made me weep. Because of the beauty of it. And because what I had thought was a casual, fun thing turned out not to be casual at all. And that is the lesson of that. Is you never know what words you say, how they will affect somebody. That's why I've chosen to always be positive. And then I told that to Jose, and Jose got weepy too. And I'm a guy who cries at sunsets and cries when the flowers blossom. I love beauty.
There are people that subscribe to your Twitter now just for positive affirmations.
Good.
So I've heard people say, reading Doug
the Facebook
discussing
stuff, yeah.
sunrises and sunsets gets me through sometimes.
Oh, good. And so that's another thing on the street that became important was like, what am I saying? What am I saying? And how will it land? Because you never know. You never know. So,
All right. What is your favorite prop?
my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. In for the general use, I love the Belubies and the Queen of Spain show. They're hysterical. I love playing the Bladivarius. That's a fun thing to do. I have little things in my pouch that I play with every so often. I have a gay llama in my pouch. Some patrons gave me a little finger puppet with a little gray llama, and he has a rainbow saddle. So I call him my little gay llama for Jesus. It's just cute. And so I have little things like that. But or my voice. But it depends on the show. I mean, it's a prop. It's an interesting show.
What is your favorite joke or bit?
Favorite joke or bit? God,
I know.
I really like Jose's bilingual humor. I like that he gets away with it so well. Do you know, like, why can only 2 Mexicans cross the border? There's no trespassing. Do you know, there's a Chilean, my favorite thing, one of our favorite things, and we hardly ever do it. I love our cheese bit, we hardly ever do it. It's tough to say that. I just like working with Jose. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoy it. I feel very secure, you know, because I actually treat him as the master, and I make him make decisions on stage. He kind of tells me what's happening. You know, like we're fighting, I'm right in the middle of the fight. I catch that look, it's like, okay, we're going to do this all the way through. We're not going to do the mortal wound, which is a great bit. I love the blindfolded sword fight as far as skills. I think the bladder bust is interesting because I actually get shot in it. I've had holes in my leg. I have scars I cannot show you that I had to pull the black powder out of my body because we're in upstate New York and it's so humid, the powder didn't break apart. And I watched this smoke thing just come right at me, go, and I'm like, signing autographs. You know. A little bits. There's so much. We've been together for over 30 years. You know, it's hard for me to say. Right now, presently, I'm really loving that we've added one singular sensation from the Chorus Line into the show that just floats my boat for some reason. Because when Jose got hurt last year, we had to cut down on the physicality. So I ended up singing. I would, like, suddenly, if there's a place for me that I can sing, do a comic singing bit, we're adding it. That can add minutes to shows. And that's all, you know, you're really talking about adding minutes. If it's funny, that adds more time. But in this one singular sensation the other day, and this is all accidental. Everything is accidental. I'm singing it, and the plumes pop out in my helmet, which they often do. I always think that some friend of mine from heaven is messing with me when that happens. I literally say, okay, if I'm being mean, I'm like, okay, Botch, I'm being mean. You know, focus. But they popped out while I'm singing, and I pick it up and I start using it as a thing, and the audience starts to roar. I mean, literally roar. It's like one of those, it's like, oh my God, that's so much fun. And it was accidental.
Just gesturing.
Just playing with the plume, and suddenly, my whole being opens up.
It exaggerates too.
And when I was 21, I was in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and I was working. Lodge was in it. Surprisingly enough, she was Lucy when I Am Queen. We all thought it was very strange later when she became Queen. I was Snoopy in it, and I had honestly the most experience of all the people in that cast. So the director left me alone. And I played Snoopy on his hands and knees, and I had these choices. And, you know, opening night, I'm not the kind of director. Opening night, the director comes to me and he's like, you know, I left you alone during the whole show. I went, I hope I'm doing good. He goes, no, actually, you suck. I'm like, wow, it's opening night. And he went, and the Sun Times is out there, and the Chicago Tribune was out there. And it's like, if you don't get a standing ovation after separate time tonight, I'm firing.
Interesting motivation.
I'm crying. I have to redo my makeup. You know, I'm an emotional guy. I'm a Scorpio. I'm an emotional man. And I go out and I get a standing ovation. I can't tell you how, but it's that same level of something when I pull the plume out. There's a presence and charisma are real. They are real. And there's a light or a force that comes out of you. And I think there are times when when you are engaged in delighting in it, like when suddenly, I think I got the standing ovation because I was so afraid. And I was so afraid of not getting a standing ovation that I went overboard on the song, which probably was really good directing. I'm not the kind of director I'd rather not make people weep. But the same thing sometimes, even after all these years of finding something else that's like, wow, this is a new discovery, and it has opened up my light. It opens up everything. It comes right from me. It's, presence is real. I don't know how to, I've tried to teach it. I've tried to do workshops on it. There's a great book, called Das Energie, Energi. Paul Williams wrote it. He also wrote a book called Coming, and they have philosophies both of these books, they have philosophies that we engage in. One thing is like...
Is that the same Paul Williams that wrote music for a lot of the Muppet movies?
No.
No, okay, just checking.
Yes, no.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. No, and this guy had philosophies that we engaged in. One thing is like, you can never make a mistake. I cannot make a mistake on stage. I can screw up a line, I can lose the sword fight, I can do all that. They are not mistakes. They are part of the action of that character at that time. There are no mistakes. Your boss can come and yell at you later about what you did wrong, but as an actor, I can't make a mistake. You always get what you need. That's another philosophy thing. So I always figured that I will get what I need. In fact, that's true. If you listen, you always get what you need. If you listen, you always get what you need. And he also had this, in the book Coming, and I was reading this book on the plane, he talked about how to make people smile in a quiet room. And it was like imagining a burning log in your chest, kind of like the light of Christ or Buddha's Sacred Heart, or all of those religions have the light coming out of here. Imagine a burning log in your chest. And I'm like this. I'm sitting in this airplane, and it's quiet, and nobody's looking or anything like that. And he goes, now imagine the log coming out of you and beginning to move around the room. And I did that. And the conversation level went up. People started, you could feel the difference in the cabin. And that's part of presence. So I actually, one of my rituals is like, twinkle damn it, I say. It's like, how much light can I get out of my eyes? And how much light can I get out of my heart? Chakra. Chakra, I said the word. Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I believe that. Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
It's working. No.
Yeah, it does work. It does work.
No, don't apologize if you feel you've gone on a tangent. It's all gold. What choices as a performer have you made in terms of Miguel's physicality, including you were speaking earlier about the change in the walk?
Miguel's physicality, it's interesting because those of you who know me know that my weight has changed quite a bit. I started off as close to what I am now, a little skinnier. I think I got up to a 38 or 39, 42-inch waist at one time as Miguel, and that changed his physicality. It hurt, and then I'm back around to 31 now, which is about where I want to reside. I made choices that Miguel's body center would move, and I'm a big fan of believing in centers. There's a book written by a man named Bendinetti on acting, and as much as method is a great thing, this is all about technique. So if I want to, and this was looking at things like, if you've never lost a parent, you don't know what that feels like. You can't imagine it. No, it's not like your dog dying. It's not like your brother, not like your child. It's a completely different set of circumstances. So Beninetti would say, go and watch people who are grieving and imitate their look. If somebody who's just won the lottery, you can imagine yourself winning the lottery. That might be a little better because it's easier to be exciting. But it was all based upon look at people. You want to be a businessman, sit and watch how businessmen read their papers. They don't do this, they do this. Or they lean back, their chest. So he came up with a series of centers: head-centered, chest-centered, the stomach-centered, butt-centered, basic things. And you could do little knee-centers, stuff like that. But he came up with like and top of the head-centered that are relating to different characters. So I want Miguel to be primarily head-centered, which means he's flighty. Because head-centered people, your center is how you move. Like if I noticed something over there and I did this, I would be chest-centered, because my chest would be the first thing to move. I mean, the head-centered person is going to do this, or really do this. And those are those people that are walking around, they're like, woo, pretty colors. And Miguel's like, so I have this head-centered. And then and drunks, people who play drunks, always try to play somebody who's drunk. Drunks try to play sober people. That's the secret of playing a drunk. So you're trying to play sober, but your body center moves. So I move Miguel's body center purposely, so it looks like I'm a little inebriated, which makes me harmless. I have open body because the open chest is more approachable. I mean, even to the point of like I have the whole shirt thing, which I have a hairy chest. I sell it, you know. This is a prop too, which I adore. I had these young Native American guys, 16, 17, come up to me on Kids Days, and they went, "Can I?" I went, "Can I touch your hair?" I went, "Sure." They touched it. Wow, that's really soft. I went, "It is." And they went, "We don't have any." I went, "It happens." They came back later, and his friend says, "Okay, I have to touch it now." He's been talking about how soft her hair was. These are straight boys. There's nothing gay about them. Mm-hmm. I love this prop. But so I have this thing, and I thought about that. Even the way I walk, you know, the way I move my feet. I used to be in, but I lift my feet directly up, as though I'm like stomping grapes, and I move my body. It's all, so that's, yeah, those are things I've done on purpose. The head center to be, because if you actually do these centers, they will affect the way you feel. Mm-hmm. So the head center opens me up to ideas and thinking and looking at everything around me. And when I look at the world as Miguel, even as Doug, I try to look at through beautiful colored glasses, not rose colored, but beauty. Beauty's like the color of the green against the blue. I notice those things. And it's amazing how few people notice that. And so I let Miguel open up to the beauty and to the drunkenness, and then he also is sexy as hell, so all that's part of the play.
The posing. I remember you saying something about the Marilyn. Did you go for Marilyn Monroe sometimes?
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, there's a Marilyn Monroe who is based upon who does this, and I do that as Miguel. I do very feminine things. I actually studied. Thanks for reminding me about that.
No problem.
There's a Calipigian is a sculptor of the time of the Renaissance period, and he created this sculpture of this woman of a Venus that was so famous that they actually had to end up covering it up, and that's this pose. That's Calipigian made that pose. This pose is what Marilyn Monroe did, but this is Calipigian, which today means heavy or overset because she had big old, baby-bearing hips. So I went and looked at all these, the Venus de Milo, I looked at statues of sexuality in women and images and used it as Miguel because you wouldn't think of a guy doing it. And it really makes me as soft as you can come. Kids are absolutely, hardly ever are they ever afraid of me.
Yeah.
Because, what the heck?
It's completely non-threatening as can be from anyone out here.
Thanks for reminding me.
No problem. That just stuck with me at the workshop you came to.